Welcome to One Quick Question with Infomedia, your source for answers to your questions about websites, digital marketing, and more. I'm your guest host, Michael Green, and I'm here with Carrie Rollwagon, and today we're going to be talking about AI. We have a question about AI, but Carrie, first of all, what is your experience with AI?
With AI, I guess what everybody's experience is, and then I've been a copywriter for a long time. I'm not doing that currently, but a little bit, but not much. But I've been a copywriter for 15 years or something. So I have been experimenting with AI the same way I think anybody who's probably actively working in the industry is or should maybe.
All right, that's fair. Our one quick question is, can AI write my website copy?
It can.
I guess. All right, done.
Should it?
No. Yeah,
Probably,
let's. All right, we covered that.
Yeah.
Then I guess our sub question would be, should AI write my website copy? Maybe that's the heart of the question.
I think it should. It can help. No. I think it can help.
Yeah.
So let's maybe start with the reasons I would not just totally use AI to write your copy. Your copy does need to, first of all, it needs to talk to humans and it needs to talk to Google at the same time, which is kind of a tricky thing. So AI tends to be very good at, at least in my experience, let's say the popular one I think right now is OpenAI and ChatGPT. So it's really good at, I think generating ideas almost. So if I'm I need to brainstorm a bunch of different ways to say this headline, I can use it it'll give me, spit out 10 ways to, you can say even rewrite this headline for me. You can even say rewrite it in a different style, you know? And in my experience, it's given 10 okay ideas. Occasionally, I'll get a really good idea that's just taken straight from AI. But I do think for things like that, if you're trying to do headlines, button text, things like that, CTAs, which are calls to action, I don't think it's on the mark. Would it be okay? Sure. It's not that it's bad, and it may speak to Google, but I do find that generally speaking, it is helpful to kind of have a person going through that and saying I think the UX, the user experience, is a little bit better if you have a person really thinking through whether or not that's the right thing. Now, that's kind of ChatGPT. There are softwares that are more geared toward just copywriting, and I think those would do a little bit better job. But still, you're going to want to use, to really think through, is this the right one? And it's easier for a person to do that, which I think, that when you use AI, you actually have a greater need as a person to have a human being editing and fact-checking. So whether or not the writing is actually done by Google or by AI, somewhat is kind of up to you and up to your needs. If you have a website that you're writing an article that's actually been written a million times before, you might as well have AI write it. And then, but also, if you're doing something that's unique to your business, if I'm talking about, if I'm saying, what is a website company, for example, I could generate that first paragraph, with AI. If I'm writing, what is Infomedia, and I'm wanting to incorporate things about what we do uniquely, it's not going to know that stuff. So you are still going to need a person to be, writing that.
It doesn't completely replace the human element.
Right, exactly.
Maybe it's a first draft machine, or it's a brainstorming machine.
Yes, that's exactly right. So I would say researching, so I even want to qualify that. Brainstorming, I think it's pretty good at helping with. Researching, I would say it's kind of not, because it will say something in a very authoritative way that's not true. I think right now it's maybe about 10%, and I found this to be true. I've seen this in other people talking about the same thing. usually things are about 10% wrong,
Mm-hmm.
which seems like pretty good. Like you
Mhm.
might get an A or B on a paper that's
Yeah,
like that.
I would take 10%.
Right. Except that when it's your company and
Sure.
you're saying, like, I'm representing my company
Mm-hmm.
and it's 10% wrong, that's actually kind of bad.
And it probably matters what 10%
Yes,
it is.
exactly.
Because,
Yeah.
one incorrect sentence, if it's a important sentence, it might be
Yeah.
the whole crux of the, what you're trying to
Right,
communicate.
exactly.
Um,
Or if you say that your company does something that it doesn't. Like, I think one example, we may try to link to it in the show notes, is somebody had like AI write a review of the past iPhone,
mhm,
and it was mostly right, but it was wrong about the camera specs and it was wrong about the colors.
mhm,
So if you say this is the new iPhone, those are pretty important things.
mhm.
Even though it's mostly right, you're still gonna be wrong, and that's what people are going to remember.
Yeah, exactly.
So that is so I like researching I would do on your own. Brainstorming, I think it's great. Even writing a first draft, especially if there isn't a lot that's like unique about what you're wanting to write about, it can be fine. I think where you really, really need people is fact checking and editing. So that's more important than ever
Hmm.
because if say I'm getting something from a human writer, and it's not great, it's like a kind of a mess. It's like not doesn't read well. I'm like they were sloppy with their writing. They were probably sloppy with their research.
Hmm.
I know I need to really drill down into checking this. But if I get something that's perfectly written, makes total sense, I mean, of course, I always fact check anyway, but like it's like an instinct to think they probably checked this. They probably got their facts right too.
Yeah.
The problem with AI is it all makes logical sense.
Yeah.
So you read it and you're like, sounds right. And then you post it and it was not right.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to catch that stuff.
I think there's also like programs out there that like reverse check and can find out if you actually pulled your copy from AI. I had my girlfriend has a professor friend, and they found their first like term paper or whatever that
Yeah.
was AI generated, and they caught it. So
Yeah.
if you're listening to this thinking
Yeah.
you can start
Yeah.
completely wholesale like
Yeah. Well,
going over to AI, that might not be
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Well, and some of this for a website, it kind of depends. Like, what are you trying to do?
Yeah.
Are you saying, like, I'm creating original copy and then you're taking it? Or
Yeah.
are you just, like, trying to describe, like, you run a plant that, like, fuses two metals together and you want to describe that process? Like,
Yeah.
it's, like, as long as it's not plagiarizing, which we don't know if it is. And we also don't know. The law is really, I think, very just developing a lot.
Oh yeah, it's such a new
about that.
technology. They don't.
Yeah.
But there actually are things that are checking to.
Right.
So I guess
see
there's
if
a
you
log of
wrote
anything
it-
that comes out of
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Right,
or
but
whatever.
for a term paper, that would be like very bad. Or if you're writing a book and pretending like you wrote it,
Yeah.
that could be bad. If you are writing an about page on your website, you're not really like it's fine as long as you're not copying it from somewhere else.
Hmm.
Now, again, it's not fine if you don't like really check every fact. I would still rewrite it a little bit for most things.
Hmm.
I found it more useful in like we talked about like brainstorming. I find it useful in answering questions of clients. Like I wasn't sending this question, but just as an experiment. I was like, hey, can you write an email explaining why developing a website takes so long? And it had a pretty good response. So things like that, you're still going to want to edit it, maybe take some stuff out, maybe change the tone a little bit.
Hmm.
But the things I think are like when you're just banging your head against the wall because you're like, I know all this information. There's no real creativity in getting it out. I just need to get it on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You might as well start with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe everything doesn't need the most human element
Yeah.
if it's just
Yeah.
cold hard facts that need to be checked.
Right. But I think that this is a tool.
Mhm.
Like, I don't think this is going to replace copywriters. I don't think it's going to, like, it's not a substitute for humans. You're actually, I think you are going to spend the same amount of time on the website copy. It's either you're going to write it or you're going to like actually have to apply that same amount of time to editing it, fact checking it, rearranging it, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not necessarily saying you can't use it, because it may be like, okay, that stuff I'm fine with, but I hate writing. Like it may be a decent way to get a first draft. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
But then you, like you said with the plagiarism, sometimes you don't know. So like one example that's happened to me, I told AI, like, write me a story. I didn't tell it anything else. And the story it wrote, it said there was a girl named Alice who was wandering through the forest, and she found a rabbit hole, and she, chased a rabbit down the hole, and she found a fantasy world that she changed her life forever.
Wait, this is real?
Yeah, this really happened.
It wrote Alice in Wonderland, and it said...
Right. That's what it wrote. And it didn't call, would you get sued for that? Probably not, because I think Alice in Wonderland is out of, like, copyright protection. But would you look stupid?
Yeah, so smart.
Yeah, but would you look like an idiot if you presented this as your original work? Yeah, because it's obviously Alice in Wonderland, even though it's technically not Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, it's AI generated. Weird. That's so... How was there a lot of other similarities with Alice in Wonderland?
No, I just had to write a paragraph.
Oh, got it.
And then I actually generated other story ideas that I didn't recognize. So maybe they were original, maybe they weren't. But it wasn't, again, like that one we recognize. But what if you do that it wouldn't be a story on your website probably.
Yeah.
But what if you do that and you don't recognize it and you post it and you pretend it's original, and then somebody else knows the source material, then it's going to be really problematic. Or some things you just skip over. Like there was a section of text that said somebody had piercing blue eyes. And I had AI rewrite it in a different style. And it said his eyes were as blue as snow-capped mountains. And I just read right over it and was like, it's funny. Good job.
Yeah.
But Caleb, who works here, was like, yeah, but snow-capped mountains are white. It's like, yeah, they are. And I skipped over it because it sounded right, So It's just like you are more likely to miss things because of that. No,
that makes 100% sense. I actually need to pull some submissions that I've got out, some novel submissions, because I didn't think they were going to know about this Wonderland place that I wrote about. So it would be a good place to stop, so I can see if I can desend these emails.
That's right.
Yes,
but I do think people ask, when do you think we're going to see an AI written novel? And I'm like, I'm sure we already have. Like, I don't think.
Yeah, you read it. It's like a Blockbuster now.
Yeah.
You paid $30 to watch it in the theater.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, thanks.
Thank you. One Quick Question is brought to you by Infomedia. Find show notes including links to what we talk about on the podcast at infomedia.com/quickquestion. Our producer is Elena Harmon. Our theme music is by Brad Davis. Our episodes are produced by Paul and Aaron at Infomedia Studios. If you need website support, marketing advice, or you're interested in building a new website, give us a quick call at 205-823-4440 or email quickquestion@infomedia.com. And I'll leave you with this thought. Are we living in a simulated reality? Are our souls ones and zeros? Do we have free will? I propose no. We have none of these.